David Spada is a successful attorney whose dream was to become a sports talk show host. Elliott Harris is a Chicago sports columnist who wanted to expand his media presence. In the next hour, they combine their talents and love of sports and women by interviewing former professional athletes and lovely ladies on sports and torts. But keeping the boys out of trouble isn't always easy, because when David and Elliott are together, they have more fun than should be legal.
Welcome to another edition of Sports and Torts on TalkZone.com with David Spada and Elliott Harris. Last check, I'm Elliott Harris. It means David Spada is either the invisible man or not here. I think he's probably out working, either that or taking a spa day. Regardless, we have a great show today, football themed. If you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, I think you will love it. Even if you're not a Vikings fan, I think you'll enjoy it. First up, we have the all-time leader in interceptions in the NFL, a former defensive back for the Vikings, Paul Krause.
On the phone, we have one of the top players in NFL history. This gentleman had a record in the amount of interceptions he had in the NFL, over 80. He played not only for the Washington Redskins, but the Minnesota Vikings. It is Paul Krause. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Good. I didn't realize when you went to Iowa, you played not only defensive back, you were a wide receiver there.
Oh, yeah. We played both ways in my time. I think we were one of the last classes in NCAA that played both ways.
Why did they stop playing both ways?
Pardon?
Why did they stop playing both ways in college? You think, with the amount of players?
I really don't have any idea. We played both ways in high school, and played both ways in college. And all of a sudden, when I went to pro football, it was only one way. I was a defensive back, and that was easy because I didn't get tired or anything. It was a strange deal for me only to play on one side of the football.
Now, you grew up in Michigan. How did Duffy Daugherty at Michigan State not land you?
Well, actually, I was from Flint, Michigan, and it was 45 miles to East Lansing, and it was 45 miles to Ann Arbor. I almost went to Ann Arbor for the University of Michigan, but I really didn't even consider going to Michigan State. And I don't know why. It just, there never was a desire for me to go to Michigan State.
Did you enjoy playing wide receiver or cornerback more?
Well, I was a wide receiver in college, and then I was a safety in college too. So I never did play cornerback, but it really didn't matter to me because I had played both in college. So it wasn't a strange position. The Washington Redskins drafted me, and they said, "You're our free safety." So I said, "Okay."
Sounded good to you, I'm sure.
Yeah, it sounded great to me. And then the first time I ever played in an exhibition game, it was against the Bears, and I intercepted a pass from Billy Wade.
I assume it doesn't sound like there was much of a difficulty in transitioning to the position.
No, it wasn't. The first play I got into the game, I intercepted a pass. And then the first league game I ever played, I intercepted two passes. So, he kind of acted like a wide receiver anyway back there. And, it really didn't make any difference.
Who was your first interception against when it was the regular season?
I was playing against the Cleveland Browns and Paul Warfield, and they had Frank Ryan. Frank Ryan threw to Paul Warfield twice, and I picked both of them off.
So you had 12 interceptions your rookie year. You must have thought this is going to be easy here.
Yeah. Well, I went 7 games with an interception as a rookie, and it was. I even hate to say it though. I did. I thought this was a pretty easy game, and then my next year they stopped throwing in my direction. Then I think second year I had 6, which still is a great year. And then I went down to 2, I think, and they just never threw anywhere near me.
At which point you say, "Am I ever going to get another interception?"
I did, and then I played 1 more year in Washington, and the defensive coach didn't like the way I was playing, I guess, and they traded me. I went to the Minnesota Vikings, and right away I had, 8, 9, or 10, something like that. And it was kind of a new life for me. And I really wasn't interested in getting traded by the Redskins, but the backfield coach and I just didn't get along, and so I accepted the trade and went to the Vikings, and man, it was all history from there. 12 years. Well, in 10 years, 10 out of the 12 years I played, we won the Central Division Championship and played in 4 Super Bowls and all of that. So it was a good thing. A very good thing that happened, and I enjoyed my years with the Vikings. And even though we didn't win a Super Bowl, we played in 4 of them, and that's more than a lot of people played in.
With the Redskins, those must have been some interesting practices. You had, Sonny Jurgensen, Bobby Mitchell, Charlie Taylor. There was more talent on offense on your team than probably 99% of the teams in the NFL back then.
That's right. And off that team, we had a lot of guys go into the Hall of Fame. But with the Redskins, we just couldn't win. And we had some great players. And my old roommate with the Redskins, Chris Hamburger, he went into the Hall, and so we both roommates went into the Hall of Fame.
With the Vikings, you got to play for a coach who was certainly legendary in Bud Grant. What was he like?
Bud Grant was probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He was a great coach. If you didn't play the way he wanted you to play, you were gone. But everybody realized that he was a good coach, and he had his own different ways of doing things, and like I said, if you didn't do them his way, you were adios. So after the records that we started to put together, everybody realized that this guy's good, and he knows how to treat people. He's just a great guy and a great coach.
Did it make it easier with the Vikings to get interceptions? With you had that defensive line getting to the quarterback and Marshall and Page and Carl Eller?
Well, those guys were probably the best group of guys for me to play behind. The quarterback, when we had the quarterbacks in throwing mode, they were playing right to our strength, because the guys quarterbacks had to throw the football, and with our defensive line, they had about less than 4 seconds to throw the ball, or they were sacked. So it made the defensive backfield's job a lot easier.
Was there an opposing quarterback that you went up against and you said, okay, today I should have at least 2 or 3 interceptions?
Well, no, I never thought that way. I really didn't. There were teams that I liked to play against back then. I loved to play against the Bears, the Lions, and the Packers. They were in our division. We played them twice, and we knew each other, real well, but I still liked playing against them. But no, I probably have more interceptions against the Detroit football team than anybody else. But it was always great to play against the Central Division rivals because we knew that we were in for tough games. And although we won a lot of those games and everything, but we had tremendous respect for them.
I figured you had the most interception against Bobby Douglas because it seemed like he was throwing them left and right when he's with the Bears.
I was very good friends with Bobby Douglas. During the off season, we saw each other. We played golf and we played a lot of racquetball tournaments way back then. But Bobby used to throw a ball so dang hard that I wouldn't want to get in its way.
But he didn't know where it was going, though. That was the problem.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to say that. I don't say that, he's too good of a friend for me to say that. But, he threw the ball hard. He's a big, strong kid. And what I liked about Bobby is he was a good guy. He was out there trying to beat you, and we were out there trying to beat him. But he wasn't a mean guy, but, boy, he was sure strong. And we hated to see him run around with the ball.
On a golf course, is he more accurate than he was on a football field?
No. No. He was worse, he didn't know where the golf ball was going at all.
But to get 81 interceptions in the 60s and 70s is truly a feat because there wasn't as much passing as there was today.
No, I think in 16 years, I think that the teams averaged about between 25 and 30 times a game. My goodness, I the way I think, if I played right now, I'd have twice as many interceptions. Because they throw it twice as much. They throw it 50, 60 times a game sometimes. And plus, I don't think the quarterbacks are as good as the guys I played against.
So if you're playing today, you'd have triple digits at least in interceptions, right?
Oh, I think so. Sure, I think so. No, I'm not saying there are some great quarterbacks playing right now. The kid from New England's a good quarterback. The kid from now he's in Denver, Manning. He's a good quarterback. And I didn't ever play against Favre, but when Favre was playing, he was a good quarterback. Some guys are different types of quarterbacks. I never played against Marino or John Elway, but there were some good quarterbacks around, but I don't think that as a whole group the quarterbacks weren't as good as when I played.
Because back when you played, the quarterbacks basically were calling their own plays and were audibling more, whereas nowadays they're so structured, they're told what play to run, and they have no ability to freelance.
Well, that brings up a whole different attitude or response about how they call the plays now than when the old guys were playing. The quarterbacks, when I played, were calling their own plays. They knew the receivers. They knew the game itself. I personally do not think that the coaches that are calling the plays today are as good as the quarterbacks that were calling them back in the 60s. Some of the guys that are calling the plays today have never played the game. They don't know. They have not been in those certain situations. All they do is they go by books or history or whatever. I don't know how they're calling them, but they've never played in the game. So how in the world do they know what would be the best way to attack the different players or different offenses? And but that gets into a whole different aspect of the game, and I could spend a lot of time on that because as I look at the tackling, as I look at the blocking and all of that, I just don't think that the play after watching, I don't think the players of today are being taught the way to block, tackle, run pass patterns and everything. I shouldn't, I don't want to get into all that, but it's a whole different game. It's not like it was in the 60s and 70s.
How much of your success was predicated on preparation, watching film, and things like that?
Well, I used to watch a lot of film. I used to, and I studied the quarterbacks and everything. But being a defensive safety and everything, I'm just going to come right out and say it. I had God-given ability. I watch coaches coach today, and speaking of the defensive backs, how in the world, if they've never played, how in the world are they going to tell a guy how to play as a defensive back in certain situations? It's pretty hard for them if they've never been out on the field against a guy that can run like Bob Hayes or Paul Warfield or Randy Moss or any of them. They're just throwing paint on the wall and saying, I hope you can do this. This is the way I want it done. If you've never been there, or if you've never been scored upon, or if you've never been run over by Jimmy Brown, you don't know what it's like. And doggone it, I know what it's like, and I've been there. And a lot of the old defensive backs, we sit around in the Hall of Fame and say, geez, I'll watch this or watch that, or, I get sick and tired of watching them because I know what they're supposed to do, and they don't do it.
Did you ever get run over by Jimmy Brown?
Did I?
Yes.
Plenty of times. I think, I'm just going to say think. I think I made the tackles, but I just hung on and yelled for help. Because he was the best running back I've ever seen in my life, I've ever played against in my life. And right now, I would say Adrian Peterson is the closest thing that I've ever seen to Jimmy Brown.
Was there a particular quarterback that you went up against? You said, okay, today's going to be a difficult afternoon?
I loved quarterbacks that threw the football. I just flat loved them because I had a great defensive line and I had a better than average group of linebackers in front of me. And if they were going to throw the football against us, speaking of the Minnesota Vikings, they were in a lot of trouble. And so, I really didn't hate to play against any of them. It was I think that I probably felt that there was something that we had to prove all the time, that teams could not throw the ball on us. They could run the ball up and down the football field on us, but when they got inside the 20, they had a very, very tough time scoring against the Vikings. So as a quarterbacks, I wouldn't even single out any quarterback. I think Sonny Jurgensen was the best passer I ever played against. I mean, pure passer. But then you come to Johnny Unitas and you come to Bart Starr and of course Jurgensen and Billy Wade and Y.A. Tittle and all those guys. These guys were great quarterbacks, and every team, there weren't as many teams back then, so every team had a good quarterback. And so, when it came down to the thing that he hated is when an offensive team started running the ball on us and we couldn't stop the dang runs. That's what we hated, because all of a sudden, defensive backs were making too many tackles.
With the 4 Super Bowls, was there one that you thought that you basically should have won, or were they all basically so close it was hard?
I think that we should have won a couple of those Super Bowls. I think we should have won the first one. I think we should have won probably the Oakland game. But there was some reason why we couldn't win. And I have no idea.
Of your 81 interceptions, is there one that stands out in your mind as a favorite?
Not at all. Not at all. I was so happy to get 81 interceptions that, I remember the first one. I remember the one that I tied it with. I remember the ones that I set the record and then broke the record with. I remember those. And I tied it. I caught a pass off of in front of Gene Washington, which it was a great. I'm going to say it was a great interception because it was a diving interception, and I caught it right in front of him at about his knee high. But then I got two against LA in LA to break the record and set the record. I remember those, but I don't really remember a whole lot of other ones. But I remember getting one off Sonny Jurgensen. I remember Johnny Unitas. I remember some of them, but it's. I never really thought all during the time that I played that I was going to get 81 interceptions. I mean, there's just no way. You don't go into the league thinking, oh, I'm going to break a record or I'm going to go into the Hall of Fame and all of that. Hey, that's a gift from God, I think.
I know Emlyn Tunnel died in 1975 before he broke his record, and he was another Iowa guy. Is it something in the water at Iowa or on the fields there that helped you guys become such good defensive back safeties?
Well, no, not really. I would like to say so, but no. It just happened that we were both from Iowa. I talked with Emlyn Tunnell quite a few times before he passed away, and I rode on an airplane from Chicago to California with him, and we talked a lot about football and a lot about defensive back play and things like that. And he was a great man, great football player. But something, he never said one thing about me getting close to his record or anything like that. It was just never mentioned.
When you look at that record of 81 interceptions, you say to yourself, that's going to be like Joe DiMaggio's hit streak that, 50, 75 years from now it'll still exist?
I don't know. I think it's been over 35 years now. And I don't know. I kind of watch to see if somebody's trying to catch me, and I also think that the league would like somebody to break that record because I think they want a player that is playing, or a modern day player, to break it. But as of right now, I don't think anybody's really close. If it happens, it's going to take somebody that's going to be in the Hall of Fame to do it, because it's a record that I'm very proud of.
No, the closest guy is still playing is Ed Reed, and he's got 20 more to go, and he's 33 years old. So how much longer is he going to play?
Well, that's what the problem is. Guys have to play a long time, and if they play, what did he have, 60 now?
61.
61. See, I don't even he's a great player. I like how he plays, but you just if a guy gets 5 or 6 a year, that's a great year. I mean, you have to be around the football, but the things about it is they're throwing so much now, and so I just really don't know if it's going to happen or what. It's not for me to. I don't wish anybody bad luck or anything like that. Sure, I like my record, but if somebody breaks it, hey, more power to them.
Okay. Excellent interview with Paul Krause. Please stay tuned on Sports and Torts, and coming up, we will have another Viking, Chris Dolman.